And now, please welcome Chief Scientist and Senior Vice President of Technology for Kayak, Matthias Keller, in discussion with Skift Executive Editor and Founding Editor, Dennis Schaal.
Matthias, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So you have to get through us two and a couple of other characters from Skift right after us before you get to drinks. So take that. So this is a question I'm not going to ask you. I asked your colleague Steve Hafner from Kayak once about booking holding strategy to break into the United States, to get a bit larger in the US. And I said, why are you doing it with Booking.com? You could do it with Priceline because their brand is already so well known in the US. And he said, Dennis, it's very good that you're a journalist and not a businessman. So in that spirit, I want to ask you this. When do you think Kayak and companies like Kayak will just delete their current user interfaces and replace it with Gen AI?
That's a great question, and I think I agree with a lot that has been said in the previous sessions today that we are at the very beginning of this. We don't call ours alpha, but I still think it is an alpha. And it is this interesting time where I think one of the most interesting sentences today was, can we afford to change user behavior? And let's touch on that real quick, because the question also is, what is there for the user? Let's think about how we search today. We all talked about the search box. We start with the destination, and we start doing this search, and we are there. There are 10,000 options, and everything available is on the shelf, and we have to now start filter, sort, compare. And when you look, for example, into our experience that we launched almost 2 years ago now on OpenAI, where we were one of the first plugins, and we brought the Kayak plugin there. You can start immediately saying, I want a hotel in New York for 2 days with a pool, boutique style. I come with my kids and I come with my dog. And instead of having to work through 10,000 results, I have to work through 5 results that ideally, and I'm not saying that's perfect today, right, but ideally this would be the 5 results that you're very likely to book. So as much as this behavioral change is expensive, and I also think nobody can really afford pushing users in that direction, I think there is something for the user to be had if they would adapt these behaviors.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm thinking that anyone here ditched Google for something like Perplexity or ChatGPT? Any sense?
Yeah, pretty much.
I hear a lot of people saying that, and so I think that this behavioral change is maybe not so far. I would still say it's a niche today, but I also would say that there is a lot to be had. Now, coming back to your original question, I don't think that we are going to replace our today's interface necessarily with a chat, but I could see voice coming in. I could see multimodality coming in. I want to start my travel search with uploading a wedding invitation, something like that, and you build all the trip around me. And I could see more free text coming in for sure, right, and being upfront with your problem.
How far away is voice?
I think voice became almost a commodity now, so much closer. I think over the last decades, getting voice in and out never has been the problem. I think it was more like the problem of answering to it. And now, I'm not talking about like mimicking voices or producing somebody else's voice. That's another conversation. But I think for our purposes, 6-8 years ago,
about the prompts.
8 years ago, we were working with Amazon Alexa, which was really like a fantastic direction for travel planning because it was so ubiquitous and it was just voice. Hey Alexa, ask Kayak, where can I go for $500? So I think voice is not the technical limitation. I think that the large language models now bring us also so much closer in filling that voice with all that information. And it's really about the learning to prompt and the user behavior of really starting that way.
Got it. Don't forget to put your questions in the app, and we'll try to get to them. So last year, Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky, he said that by this year, Airbnb would be totally transformed by Gen AI. He's since backtracked about that a little bit. It hasn't happened yet. It'll happen soon. But how has Gen AI changed Kayak? Has it transformed Kayak in any way? How do you look at it?
I wouldn't say it's transformed yet, but let me give you three, four broad categories where generative AI is looking to have an impact. So I think the first category is our own productivity. And what we heard today from many people, it is right now it is.
And you were here all day.
Yes, I was here all day. And it's not, there is no single killer use case yet.
Right.
But it's more like a lot of breadcrumbs that are going to make a bread in a way.
Yeah.
So it's, you might have somebody finds a lot of value organizing reviews they collected. Somebody else finds a lot of value cleaning up their user stories. Somebody finds a lot of value doing translation. So there are these little things where, and our approach here at Kayak is from the beginning, we made ChatGPT and other tools available to everyone. So for everyone to find what works best for them. So that's our internal productivity. But now the next case is we have now cases where we can bring our Kayak information to other places, such as the ChatGPT and the Copilot. Mm-hmm. We have the next example where we have products that look like a chat in a way. So we think about something, I think it's running here right now, it's something we call Ask Kayak,
right.
Which is, one is a destination finder product, the other one helps with filtering. And the last category, it also allows us to do a lot of innovation in things that don't look like ChatGPT. For instance, right now running here is this new innovation that we call Price Check.
Right.
It's a productivity tool. You upload the screenshot of a booking page, and we now search the same exact flight for you and compare it one more time to see that you get the best price. And it feels nothing like ChatGPT, but this is an innovation that would only be economic or doable or basically buildable with the help of generative AI.
Got it. How is Price Check? So Price Check, you take a photo of a trip you found on another site, it uploads to Kayak, it does a search. How's that different from today, before, when you wanted to search for a flight on Kayak? It's just a time saver, basically.
Absolutely, and I think just a time saver. I think when we look at generative AI and where is the value for the user, productivity and saving time. That's definitely where we see the value. And the Price Check fits perfect into the idea. You come to Kayak to compare. It's always the question, do you want the user at the beginning of the transaction or at the end of the transaction? This is the idea at the end of the transaction, which is very desirable if you then get the transaction. But it's really about saving time and giving users a very easy, like, imagine you are right now on the checkout flow, you basically entered everything. Would you really start the whole search again, hunting for that flight?
Right.
Probably not, and Price Check makes that much easier for you.
So I asked ChatGPT and Ask Kayak the same question. Where can I go on a solo trip and make a lot of friends? I need friends. So ChatGPT said Bangkok, Barcelona, Madrid, Sydney, Melbourne, and it just gave me some, very generic information about things to do in those places. Ask Kayak said Rio. I'm going to Rio. So tell us more about Ask Kayak and how you personalize it. You obviously personalized it with me, but tell us more about it.
Yeah, so the Ask Kayak destination, so there are multiple features, but so the destination feature on a high level, what happens is that you come in with your question. I always asked about, I want to travel where penguins are. And the idea that two pieces of data come together, there is the one piece of ChatGPT having a lot of knowledge about travel. It unfortunately doesn't have real-time knowledge, it would not know where the next Formula One race is or something like that, but it has a lot of general knowledge about travel. And then we bring it together with our knowledge of what destinations are popular, how much does it cost to fly there, is there a direct flight, all our knowledge about our price graphs, prices of hotels, and so on. And this then makes that destination finder product based on generative AI, and we get this little blurb from ChatGPT that, if I asked about penguins, it would recommend me the Galapagos Islands, and it would tell me what kind of penguin I can see there. There's another part in Ask Kayak, which so Ask Kayak, imagine it as like our kind of co-pilot. Could be our co-pilot, and the other part of Ask Kayak is then going back to the filter problem. You found Rio de Janeiro, you start searching. And now instead of, as you know, we have probably the most filters in the industry, including the famous aircraft filter that is very popular again this year. And you may not want to work through these 20 different filters. And so now you can use the free text box, which is also part of Ask Kayak, and you can just enter nonstop in the morning, things like that.
I think Kayak was one of the first sites to use filters. One of the first meta search sites to use filters.
That is
But anyway,
cool.
you bill Ask Kayak as trips designed by data, powered by ChatGPT. And when I did ask that question, it came back with lots of charts, lots of data, which month is the cheapest to book and which day is, the cheapest to book to have flights. So, yeah. Oh, but I asked it another question. For a friend, where can I go on a snowy vacation, and I'm Dominican and I want to get a visa on arrival, okay? So it didn't do so well on that. So it gave me 6 countries. 1 was right, Japan. The next 5 were wrong. Norway, Finland, Iceland, Switzerland, Canada. Wasn't too good on that.
Yeah, so I think, first of all, starting with
Visas,
alpha,
that's travel.
but let me give a couple of data points why I'm very hopeful that our next version will get that right. If we go back to the time when there was COVID and actually the whole situation with entrance restrictions were peak, ununderstandable, we actually had the travel restrictions product where we broke down exactly your use case. I have this passport, where can I go? Can I get in there at all? Do I need a visa? How long? And so on. So this is definitely data that is top of our mind, and it was extremely popular during COVID. And generally, like going back to the charts, and just one more example of generative AI that doesn't feel like generative AI, we have this little neat product that is called Best Time to Travel. And the idea how this works is that, again, you say, I want to go to Rio, I think maybe 14 days. And now, again, you get these charts, you get the weather, you get how crowded it is, and you get this information from ChatGPT about some cultural seasonal relevancy. Like the cherry trees may be blooming, there is carnival, whatever that is. And so all these pieces are there, but there's certainly, we're all experimenting, and there is certainly a little bit still of a disconnect. So there is some work right now when you experiment. I think you start a lot of little pieces, and you watch for a little bit and see how they do, and then you have to pull it together into one solution that can answer the question, can I get in there, where should I go, and
Right.
all these things together.
A couple of audience questions are about conversion. You're not a booking site, but have you seen conversion improvements due to price check?
It is really very, very early days. And so what I can say about price check, so I don't think that we right now look at it as a conversion improvement right away. It is really, we think about it more as right now it is more of an app install play for us, if anything. But what I can say about price check is that when we launched this during the travel trade fair in Berlin just this March, and I was demoing it to a lot of people, and everyone was impressed how flawless it worked. We were getting to any booking site you can imagine, any language you can imagine, and it would get the right flight. Has to be said, so what is also on the other side, we are the first ones to launch this. There's nobody else who has that, so we are basically opening up a completely new category of tool that nobody else has, so to speak, seen before. There's no comparison, and I think you have to see that as the beginning of something bigger. So maybe price check should be just part of, let's say, a chatbot or something like that.
Right.
It is like that's coming to my previous point. We have this interesting innovation that is happening, and we have to then at some point consolidate and pull it all together. And we think this is a very everyone who sees it is really amazed how it works.
How'd you come up with the idea for it?
The idea how we came up for it is really coming from the thought that we want, it comes from the mindset of we want you to compare before you book a very last time. When we are thinking of the positioning of Kayak, are we the best when it comes to thinking about where should I go versus is this the best price? This is positioned at, is this the best price?
Got it. Did you have to reorganize your teams because of Gen AI?
I wouldn't say we reorganized, but the big insight we found from generative AI is that we are now able to, so taking a few steps back, we've always worked with machine learning. From the moment when we had our hotel search site 15 years ago and we needed to start ordering these hotels, we started using machine learning and it became more and more and more. And we scaled that up by hiring data scientists and building more data analyst teams. And now these generative AI innovations, such as Ask Kayak, there were no data scientists involved in building these.
Right.
So there is now this new opportunity where basically almost all software engineering teams can make innovations that prior would have required data scientists doing a lot of foundational work, stitching a lot of things together. And they can now build this really quick, boosted by generative AI. And as much as it may not be the optimal solution, it has the fastest time to market, getting out there and being able to experiment with it.
Another audience question: how do you view competition risk from OpenAI and especially Google to Kayak and Booking more broadly?
Look, I mean, the interesting player here is certainly Google. They have all the data of the world.
And your parent company has always been close to Google. But Google's giving you guys a hard time.
So do we work with Google closely.
Yeah.
What I want to say is that at the moment, Google, Kayak, Booking, or Priceline, Expedia, we are looking at, or startups, we're looking and testing and getting inspired by what everyone else is doing in the space.
Right.
We have our own thought of where we think we want to go. We see that other players have different advantages in different sites, but we are focusing on our vision of it, and our vision is to be really close to this comparison and comparing prices and finding, really zooming in on the best result from the most comprehensive options that are out there and booking these. Also on booking.com later then.
Right. So Booking Holdings has a number of companies: Kayak, Booking.com, Agoda, Priceline. How do you guys work together on Gen AI, or do you work together? Do you share information, best practices? Are you calling up somebody at Priceline to share information or whatever? How does that work?
The way I would describe it is that we are all really independently chasing different ideas. Mm-hmm. We are thinking about price check. Priceline really early on zoomed into penny. Booking has the trip planner. And we are having the advantage that if we see these products, we can actually talk to these people and ask them, what are your experiences? How are things going? But overall, it is a very independent product development. And we don't necessarily even agree where it all has to go. We are all experimenting, sort of using the same tools, but it is a very independent development.
Expedia took the opposite tack, where before they would have teams from different brands competing against each other. Now it's kumbaya. So what do you think of that in light of how you guys work?
Honestly, it is. Let me think about it. I mean, I think Expedia has this unique value that they're creating or trying to create through their single loyalty program.
Right.
I think for us as Kayak specifically, we are very different as we are a meta search player. Mm-hmm. We are having all the Booking Holdings brands on our site, but together with everyone else. And so I really think we have this unique independent position here in the space where we are friends with everyone, including outside the group, I would say.
Right. So what does Gen AI do for meta search? Does it save meta search, kill meta search? What's your view?
I don't see. I do not think that it's going to kill meta search, and the reason is that, think about it. Today, the generative AI has already the problem. As I said in my example, it would not necessarily know when the next Formula One race is. And if you think about the work that is going into getting availability, getting rates, pulling all that content together, sorting it, filtering it, curating it, I think the question you would ask, like, will you have a future where you are still going to run your own UI, or are you just going to be a data provider for a network of chatbots? But but I even don't see that coming because I think the innovation that we are putting in is always going to be so unique, and we are going to be so laser focused on travel that I'm personally rather believing in a world where I think that OpenAI is like, next question, like, do you think that OpenAI is to be a place of commerce, right? And I would, right now, it's just my opinion, I would think they are a place of foundational technology that others can use to then elevate their commerce experiences in general. Mm-hmm. And this may be different for others of these vendors, but for the time being, I really think that, because they will also have then the problem, for example, if you think that the world is a chatbot, how does an ad-powered business work? So there are so many hard problems, I think, there that I definitely believe that generative AI is going to power commerce, but it's not going to eat commerce.
Got it. Does anyone remember that other hot trend of yesterday, blockchain? Kayak is using American Airlines blockchain. Kayak for Business is using American Airlines blockchain for transactions. How is that working? What are you learning from that? Is that useful?
So this is really great innovation. So the big picture here is that this is part of our corporate travel solution. So think about Kayak for corporate travelers. It can start with companies that have 5 employees. They can start using it and just see where everyone else is going and set up limits. But it goes up to companies that have tens of thousands of employees who are traveling. And so in that space of very, very large companies, we are working together with this company called BlockSky, who offers the part of the blockchain solution that is changing the corporate travel game by removing the GDS and potentially the credit card from the equation. So the idea so there are 2 components here basically. The first component is that we are adding direct integrations to they're basically NDC based and similar technologies. So we are putting direct integration with our airline partners, American Airlines being one of them. And they are at the same time, like us, also integrating with that blockchain. And so basically there is now this, it has nothing to do with paying with Bitcoin or anything like that. It is a ledger that everyone has the visibility into it, and that can be used to see the travel consumption and then also facilitate later alternative payment, like simply as you would have a tab open and you could pay by invoice at the end of the month. And I said earlier, the 2 players that we are no longer needed in that solution is there is no GDS because the booking is directly with the airline. And there's potentially no credit card company because with the help of the blockchain and the whole consolidation, the payment can now done with alternative ways like ACH, invoice, or whatever is desired.
When I first started writing about travel 20 years ago, people told me the GDSs were dinosaurs. They're not long for this world. They're still here. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.